something new. As we get into God's economy, I see that Munyomba is definitely ready on the other side. I should say we'll be going live on our Facebook page, Money FM Zambia 93.7. And of course, we actually should also be quite locked on to Money FM. Let's get to do this on the other side. Keep it locked on to Money FM radio. Good morning, Munyomba. How are you?
Good morning, Stephanie. Well, I'd like to say a godly morning to you. And God bless to everyone. Thank you for joining us on God's Economy today. Where today we're going to be talking, Stephanie, about the make money skill. So, how is your Sunday going, Steph?
Well, my Sunday is going very well. Can't lie. It's a very beautiful morning, and of course, his messes I knew every morning.
You don't want to lie on a Sunday. That's the other part. You don't want to lie on a Sunday. Yes, indeed. We don't want to lie on any day, people. We're not saying that Sunday is the only day where we tell the truth every day. That's what we should be doing. But it's just one of those special days. Thank you very much, Stephanie. And today we're going to be talking a lot about this week. We're going on to, or starting this week, we're going on to the 4 money skills, and we're going to end with the conversation: is money evil? Okay, and we're going to end that in the 5th week. We're going to talk about, is money evil, because that's one of the things that's kept a lot of Christian people away. But to everyone today, welcome to God's Economy. As I said, this is your intersection between your focus, faith, and your finance, to be able to make better decisions in that way, but to also have your conscience be at ease in that area. So today we're going to be covering the first of the 4 money skills, making money. But just as a recap, the 4 money skills, Steph, if you remember, are make money, manage money, multiply money, and maintain money. Those are 4 things that we need to be able to do in order to build wealth with money. And we have to do them very well in order to do that. And what is the purpose of wealth? The purpose of wealth is, yes, you can enjoy it, but its ultimate purpose is to make foundations for the next generation, to build on things, and also to make an impact by changing people's lives. When you have money, you actually have the ability to go and help transform people's lives. You can be an agent of doing a lot of the good that God wants in this world. If you have money, you can start orphanages. If you have money, you can assist people going to school. You can offer scholarships. Those are transforming events. If you have money, you can invest in young people's ideas who would otherwise be unemployed. So the power of having money gives you a responsibility to go into society and see what you can do to better society. Not just to throw money at people to show your power position, which is what a lot of people do, but it's also to make sure that you do it for the purpose of making life better, making things beneficial, so that when you stand before God at the end of your life, you will say these words: Lord, I fought the good fight. I kept the faith. I stayed on my course, and I kept the faith. You want to be able to look God. You want to be able to look God in His glorious face and say, I fought for things that were beneficial to others. I used my time. I used my talents. I used my treasure to make the world better for others around me. I did it maybe through my work. I did it maybe through my generosity. I left an inheritance for my children who could continue, and I trained them on how to manage that inheritance. So it is about standing before God and giving an honest account, because all of us will give an account of our lives before Him, of how we used our talents, how we used our time, how we used our treasures. And He will expect us to not stand there murmuring excuses, but to be able to say, Lord, this is what we did with what you, and we acknowledge. Okay, so this is what I want you to be able to understand, that money is not your destination. Your destination is your statement of account before God. You have to be able to give that statement of account, a failure to which you will learn a very harsh lesson in this world. So let's talk about the first thing you have to be able to do to build the wealth that will be part of your journey. It is a weapon. Wealth is one of the 6 powers on earth. If you study it, there was a talk given by a man named Eric Liu, who studied. He's
Mhm.
American Chinese. Eric is an American Chinese philosopher who actually, academic, who said there are 6 sources of power. The first one is weapons. A gun, Stephanie, can allow you to influence people. So remember, power is the ability to influence an outcome or influence the things. Power, in effect, is what is meant in the Bible when it says have dominion over. Power is what gives you dominion. So when you have dominion over things, you can direct them. Jesus had power over a storm. He could tell that storm to keep quiet. Jesus had power over the water so he could walk over it. So dominion is being able to tell something. So power, the 6 sources of power that you have are: one is a weapon. If I hold a gun in front of a group of people and I tell them to lie on the floor and they don't have guns, therefore I am powerful, okay? Because I can command them. Without that gun, and if I just walk into a room and tell everyone lie on the ground, they'll think I'm crazy. Maybe they'll listen because they'll think I'm crazy, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe that would be the reason. But mainly the thing that you have to pay attention to is that with that gun, I have command over people. The second method of wealth is through laws. If I pass a law and I tell you it is illegal to do this, it's legal to do that. If I have legal authority, like a policeman tells you that's illegal, I'm going to arrest you, under threat of being arrested. If the judiciary tells you don't do that, they have power to control your actions. Okay, so through the passing of laws, we can control people's actions. And number 3, which is one of the mainstream ones, I call these hard powers, is wealth. Through wealth, we can control outcomes. We can actually move things. We can influence. Okay. In other words, we can influence outcomes to occur. That is wealth. The next part you also want to look at, there are 3 soft powers which people are given. And the 3 soft powers are ideas, culture, and community. So if you have an idea, Stephanie, you can inspire people. So the others can instruct. With wealth, you can instruct someone. With a gun, you can instruct someone. With a law, you can instruct someone. So powers of instruction are found under wealth, laws, and weapons. But powers of inspiration, okay, the things you can inspire people with, are found under ideas, culture, and community. So when you come up with an idea, you inspire people. When you form a culture that they want to try and reenact, you also inspire people. And when you form a community which they want to be a part of, you also inspire people to act in a certain way. So wealth is a support system, mainly because you're supposed to utilize your three soft powers. So we build wealth for that reason. I just wanted to bring that together before we get started, so that everyone always understands the box with which wealth exists, especially as a Christian today, where there's so many messages that tell you money is evil, don't have it, when you get it, give it away, run away. There's all these messages that tell you the moment you get it, just throw it away, run away from it, go and be as poor as possible. That couldn't be further from the truth. God did not put up wealth for evil to own it, but he put up wealth for his children to be the custodians of it. Okay, we are the custodians of God's wealth. Yes, Stephanie, you're about to say.
Now, I think people get that notion from the fact that the Bible says, be careful not to actually get excited, because then money is evil, the root of all evil.
And you have to be careful. Even that verse, it does not say money is the root of all evil. It says love of money is the root of all evil. So it's not money, it's our behavior and our perceptions of money that actually gives birth to evil. And anything that is able to circumvent God or to supersede God is evil. Even the love of your children or your family that goes above your love of God and your respect for God, that can be seen as evil. That's idol worship. Okay, so everyone always has to remember it's anything, and money is most powerful because it's a value system. But today, as I said, I want to really harp on making money. So where does making money come from biblically? Well, making money first comes from 1 Genesis 28, which is famous for telling people by 1 Genesis 28 says, go forth, multiply. It says first, bear fruit. Okay, so bear fruit in the old Hebrew term means be productive, be highly productive. And today we're going to talk about something called the productivity formula. And I want us to all go through it. So everyone who's watching, thank you so many people for joining us. Take notes on it. But the productivity formula is what I want us to focus on. So today it says be productive. That is Genesis 1:28. When you go into it, it then says multiply. And it's talking about multiplying the fruits of your productivity. Now, unfortunately, as a society, when we hear the word all we've heard from that verse is multiply, and now it's time to go and have 1,000 children out there. You're unproductive as a human being, but all you've done is added people to this world. You've added no skills, no wealth, no structure. You've just added a bunch of poor people to increase, a bunch of people to increase the poverty of the country. You have not thought about being an example to them. You haven't thought about being a guide to them. You've just left them. You've decided to go and with 6 different women have children all over the place. That is not multiplying people. Okay. Multiplication is a skill that happens everywhere. Elisha was able to multiply bread, and I talked about this last time, and his ability to multiply. Jesus was able to multiply things. People are able to multiply crops. When Isaac planted crop, it multiplied. The power of multiplication in people, in prophets, and all sorts of things is innate within human beings because it's a blessing of God. So it's be productive, produce what did not exist, what was in your mind, bring it into existence, then multiply it, expand its reach, and then dominate your whole environment with it. Dominate your market, dominate your needs. Do not go into a state of need because you are highly productive. Do not go into debt because you're highly productive. Do not be stunted because you're highly productive. Build wealth because you're highly productive. So God has given you this mandate to take the skill and the blessing and the abilities that He's given you, bear fruit with them, multiply those fruits, fill the earth with them, and dominate, just like a tree does. When a tree bears fruit, it multiplies because those fruits drop and become more trees. They fill the earth because there's so much of them, and then they're able to actually control the environment because there's so much of them. So domination comes from being able to do that. So think about having that dominion over the things that crawl, over the things that would look to subjugate you. Now, the second part of the work culture comes from, unfortunately, the fall of man in Genesis 3:19, which says, where God looks at man and says, "From dust you were, dust you shall return." But He also says, "By the sweat of your brow." Sorry, not Genesis 3:9, Genesis 3:18. He says, "By the sweat of your brow, so shall you eat." So we work for food. Now, I want you to understand there are two dynamics to work here. Work is not a curse. People think work is a curse because making money comes from working, people. Working is not a curse. Working to meet your needs only is living under a curse. So I want you to recognize that when Adam was first made, he was working for purpose, because Adam was not unemployed when he was created. He was employed. He was working in the garden. He was managing God's earth. So with that skill, he was utilizing a skill of managing God's earth. He was blessed with the abilities to produce, multiply, expand, and have dominion. He was given these skills and these gifts and blessings for the purpose of God's intended purpose. But when he was cursed, work was not introduced at his curse. The purpose of his work was changed at his curse. And the purpose of his work was to feed his flesh. Okay? That is when you're living under a curse. When you're living to feed your flesh and your emotions, you are cursed. When you are working to now build, and obviously that includes being able to meet your needs, but when you're working for a purpose-driven thing, when you're working because there's meaning to it, you are blessed. So I want you to think about it very carefully. It is not the work that is a curse. It's the meaning behind your working. Are you reporting 8 hours a day because you find meaning in what you're doing? Or are you reporting 8 hours a day because you just need to feed your flesh? If you're just feeding your flesh, you are under the curse of Adam. If you are doing it because you find meaning in what you're doing and you're making a living doing it, then you are under the blessing. Okay, so there's a difference. Same job, Stephanie. Two people can pitch up today at Money FM. Somebody's just there to make a salary. That person is under the curse. The other one finds meaning, they structure, they feel it. That person is under blessing. There's a difference. It's the same job, but the mindset with which they're approaching it will actually determine whether they're operating under a blessing and operating under a curse. Okay, so making money, and they can even make the same salary, and one is still operating under a curse, one is still operating under a blessing. So it is determined by a simple question: what are you feeding? Are you feeding God's intended purpose for your life, utilizing your work, or are you feeding your flesh for its next hit? That is the big change and difference. Now, where are the tools with which we work? Because our work is where we find our money-making skills. Our money-making comes from our ability to deliver value to people. King Solomon says, with skill, a person shall do very well in life. In fact, he said in Ecclesiastes, with skill, you shall find success. Okay. You also find that where do you find this skill? In fact, the book of Proverbs also says a person's gifts. So it's your skills, your talents. Your talents. And here's what I want you to understand: the difference between your talents and your skills. Because your source of money, your source of making money is going to come from executing your talents. So how do we make money? We make money by meeting a need in society in a very valuable way. And there are two verses that support how to do this. And it requires a bit of interpretation, so bear with me for a moment. John 3:16, it says, God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten son, such that no man shall perish, all men shall have eternal life. So God is the sender. He sends Jesus, okay? He produces Jesus and he sends him. And why does he produce him? Because people were perishing without him. There was a problem in society. People were far from God and they were perishing eternally without him. So what he needed to do was to send his son to correct that, to change that, to alleviate a pain in society. So the first focus that everyone must have, and it comes from a place of desiring to take that away out of a love for society. So the first focus a person must have when it comes to utilizing a gift is the first focus must be, to whose benefit is this gift? For Peter even says, your gifts are ministry to people. We are endowed with gifts for ministry to each other, for meeting each other's needs. If you're singing, you're soothing the soul to a person. If you're cooking, you're feeding the body of people. When you're doing your work, you're doing it for God, and you're doing it to meet the needs of others, and you're doing it in a fair and just way. So the first focal point you must focus on when you're dealing with your gifts and trying to build your wealth with it is, what am I doing and how is it to the benefit of people? When you report to this radio station, Stephanie, and you switch on that microphone, is your mindset on getting paid at the end of this month? Or is it, and I'm not, don't worry, you don't have to answer that, but is your mindset on getting paid at the end of this month, so I just need to be here for the bare minimum? Or is it, when I get here, people are able to make better financial decisions? People are able to make better business decisions. Where people are lacking inspiration, they find it. Where people are looking for a way, they're able to find it here. When I'm here, there's a sense of duty to the people who are receiving it. That's what you want to try and ask yourself. Are you doing things for that? So the first level of utilizing a skill is to assess, what is the need that I am drawn to? What need is so powerful in society? Now, as a person, you're going to find many of those needs. You're going to find many of them. And you're going to battle with them. But for now, I think, Stephanie, I know that it's 9:05. We do have our general break here. So I will bring on to the other side, what is the next levels? And then to talk about the power of your skills, then I will introduce the productivity formula. So all of you, bear with us for just a moment or so as we return back on the other side of this, talking about how to utilize your skills.
Next time you're thirsty, think Aquarite purified water. Supplies of 18.9 liters, 750 mils, 500 mils, 10 liters, 5 liters, and 2 liters purified water. We also supply water dispensers. In our efforts to serve you better, we repair and service water dispensers. Deliveries are also made to our corporate clients. You can access our purified water from all leading wholesalers, supermarkets, retail outlets, timbers, and all Aquarite depots or containers. Get in touch with us on 0977 799414 or 0211 286998. Email aquariteltd@gmail.com. We are situated off Mumwa Road, opposite Zamanita. Aquarite, live a vibrant life.
The Money Gospel Avenue on Money FM.
Now you're joining us on the show called Gospel Avenue, and of course we are on the God's Economy with Munyumba Mtwali on the other side. Welcome back, Munyumba.
Welcome. Thank you very much. And welcome to all the people who are viewing and those who are commenting. Thank you, Priscilla, Wicks, Sarah, Thomas. Uh, a godly morning to you all, Joseph. A godly morning to you all. And may we continue with this conversation about utilization of skill. So,
Mm,
utilization of skill is first to meet the needs of others. So, there are people, Stephanie, who something is lacking in their life, something is not done well, and they need it done well. Okay, maybe
mm,
people need food prepared for them well. Maybe they need farm produce. They don't know how to farm tomatoes, but they need to consume them, and you are skilled in that area. So, the first thing you must understand is a growing need in society. The second thing you have to look at is your proficiency. Okay, so where are the problems in society that are met by your proficiency, your endowments, your supernatural or supernormal abilities? Then, after spending much time doing that, you will find you will build a passion. What I've seen many people do, Stephanie, is they'll say, "Follow your passion." Now, that statement has been misused because people look for what excites them, and then they do that. But you often find that what excites you, Stephanie, you're bad at. Somebody will say, I'm excited by singing, but you're a horrible singer. Okay.
yeah.
You're not a good singer. Okay. You love
Mm,
it, but you are a fan. You're a passionate fan of singing, and you are meant to be a fan. Some people have got what we call shower voices, where you must only be singing in the shower. And you've decided that you want to release an album for us. But the reality is that's not what you should be doing. Okay,
yeah.
you love listening to it, you love consuming, you're passionate about certain foods. That doesn't mean you should eat them. So the main criteria about whether you should be able to do something is, do you have the natural abilities to do it? Do you have the natural skills or the natural abilities and talents which you sharpen by becoming skilled through practicing? You practice something for a long period of time, put in 10,000 hours, build networks, and you become skilled at something. So having a natural talent is Lionel Messi playing football in his backyard and having natural speed and hand-eye coordination, all this. Turning it into a skill was him going to practice, being trained, being coached, being put in a structure. That's when his natural talents became skilled. So the first step is make sure you become skilled in your natural talents and then apply it to a problem. Okay. Now, how do you become passionate about it so that you have the energy? Time. Anything, Stephanie, whether that a person gives time to, they become passionate about. Anything
Mm,
you do for a long period of time, you will become passionate about. So you build passion with time. That is why love requires patience, because in order for it to manifest into love, it requires time. So Jesus even says something very similar. He says, "For where your treasure is where your heart shall be." Now, remember last time we talked about time, treasure, talent. So, in other words, you can interchange time. So, where your time and talents go is where your heart will be. Because remember, he says, where your treasure, you can actually replace treasure with time and talent. So, where your time plus talents go is where your heart shall be. So, if you
mm,
put your time and your talents into something, so you put time, you put 5, 10 years into something. Stephanie, I've heard a lot of people, you ask them, people are in toxic relationships, and you ask them, why aren't you leaving? They're like, I've been with this person for 5 years. I must now go and start again. So, in other words,
yeah.
you've almost locked yourself in. So, time plus talent over a period of time will build your passion. So, with time, but you just want to make sure you're proficient, and you want to make sure that you're actually addressing a problem, because the reason God created your very skill was because there was a problem. The reason God sent Jesus was because the people were in a state of problems. The reason God sent Moses was because the people were in a state of problems. Okay, when God sends you, in other words, all of us are sent by God with a talent. He has equipped us with a talent. So the key definer of your journey and your mission of where you're going to generate money is the talent that you have and the problem that it solves. So that is something, people write that down. If you're watching this, write it down. The key definer of my money making skill is the talent that I have and the problem that it solves. If someone can write that in the comment section, it'd be lovely, because that will kind of wrap everything together. Now, utilizing this talent, you become highly productive. And the reason you must become highly productive is because even in the book of Proverbs, it says, the diligent shall rule. It actually says that. It says the diligent shall rule. And especially the lazy shall be slaves and the diligent shall rule. So if you want to have that path to dominion, you must be diligent. You must be highly productive. You must bear fruit, multiply, expand, and it will reign and elevate above the things that are in your life. So that is one of the things you have to do. And also the other thing with your natural talents, why you want to lean on your natural talents is because your natural talents will give you opportunities. The Bible says, for a man's gifts shall bring them before kings. It will make room for them. Okay. So your gifts shall feed them. In fact, it even says in the Bible, you shall eat the fruits of your labor. So if you read these things, you'll realize that the fruits of your labor are the things that will feed you. Two, it is also that when you're looking for opportunities to be able to exercise your gift, to be able to generate income, you do it through your talent actually making room for you. Your mastered talent, your skilled talent, what you become very good at will bring you before people of excellence who will open doors for you. Okay, and God will guide them to do so. So God has given you a natural skill, Stephanie. And his main intended purpose is that he is going to facilitate opportunities for that skill to manifest in society, because that very skill is what he needs to come to the light. He needs it to shine where people are dark. He needs it to enrich where people need salt. He needs it to free where people are trapped. That is what he needs you to do with that skill. And he will compensate you through this thing called the economy, where people will pay for their needs and they will take care of you. That is part of how this works. Okay, so that is the wrapped up thing. Now, I want to just now talk in the final parts about this, about productivity and mastery, and also making productivity, mastery, and energy. Okay, these are three key parts of executing money-making skills, because once you are able to generate money, you are able to do very well. So there are certain things I want you to understand about this, and I'm going to talk about mastery. The first step of doing anything well comes in mastery. And I want to share something by Booker T. Washington, which I've shared multiple times to people, called The 9 Steps to Mastery. In his famous book, The Future of the American Negro, Booker T. Washington tells the Black Americans to do 9 things with skills. He says, don't go around jumping around multiple industries. Find something and be good at it. He gave an example of Germans. He said, Germans are very good at things. They become masters of things. And as a result, that's why they built strong economies. And he says here, in order to master something, here's what you must do. 1, build your knowledge by reading on it. 2, get mentored in it or follow great people in it. You'll see that even prophets in the Bible often started as an apprentice. Leaders in the Bible, Joshua started as Moses' assistant. Elisha started as Elijah's assistant. So most people, from the 12 disciples who wrote the rest of the Bible, they started by following Jesus. Somebody great who becomes the template and mentorship for you, who you then build yourself around because they can lead you. Network in your local industry. Know people in your local industry. Ironically, Jesus was a preacher. He even networked with the same Pharisees who wanted him dead half the time. But he actually did that. So network in your local industry. Practice extensively. Mastery requires 10,000 hours in order to be able to do something. Learn variations and specializations. Once you've mastered the basics of something, then learn variations and specializations. What are the areas with which you can be specifically known for something? Okay, you've mastered the general. Now go into the specific and become a master in the world of the specific. Travel to towns and cities and learn how they're best do it. So network outside of your local industry and into the international and all the other industries as well. Build your reputation based on offering superior customer experience, and then repeat these steps and eventually mentor someone and pass down your wisdom. This is the steps to mastery. These are the 9 steps to mastering something and becoming very good at it. Take them down, understand them, learn from them. Because once you've mastered something, something happens that is very special. If you read in the Bible, Jesus was sitting with Peter when Peter and Simon. When Simon and Peter were fishing, and they said, Master, we did not cast any net. We did not catch any food. Jesus says to them, go out. And he uses a specific word. He says, into the deep waters. He actually says this, says, go out into the deep. He used that word deep specifically because there is something that hit me when I was later reading that verse. It stuck with me that Jesus said deep for the purpose of teaching people that in your depth there is value. there is deep amounts of value, because it said when they went into the deep waters and cast their net, not wide, but deep, they had a catch so big they had to call others. They had to share this catch. That's how big it was, because alone it was sinking them. And the lesson I got from that, maybe that was revealed to me specifically, was your technical depth is where you find the most wealth. Stephanie, if you are just trying to do something like, and I'll give an example, and I'm pointing at you, but if you're just radio hosting for the sake of it, you'll get paid the regular rate. But if you are hosting and you have mastered it and you know that area, people around the world will seek you out. People who are willing to pay more for that 1 hour of you behind a microphone than anyone else. People start bidding up your hours. The depth that you go into increases the value of the catch. Okay? So there's a lesson in there that if you go deep into something, your value increases massively. And therefore, the hour that you spend, the net that you cast, instead of casting it wide, you cast it deep. So this is why I always tell people, generating multiple streams of income in any field should not be about going into many industries. It should be about taking the one skill you have. If it is communication, can you write books with it? Can you host shows with it? Can you host events with it? What can you do with that skill in multiple ways that brings money in multiple methods? Okay, so the deeper you go into something, the more variety of things that you can be exposed to. So be specialized, master something very well, do it bigger, better, faster, stronger than anybody else than you've ever seen. Okay, that's what you need to focus on when it comes to a skill. Build a technical depth in an area and master it. That's why in step 5, he says, learn variations and specializations. And what he was telling people is then become a specialist. Even if you look at doctors, the doctors who get paid general salaries are general practitioners. The doctors who get paid very high salaries are specialists. An ear doctor gets way more than a general practitioner. A certain surgeon gets paid way more. Ben Carson was a neurosurgeon. So when you are a specific area, because you are called on, you know what the beauty of it also is, Steph, is when you master something, people call you. People come to your net, okay? People look for you. They say, are you the one who I can come to for this? I was referred to. You get referrals. You get recommendations. You get people of great value who can advertise you to their network, calling you and saying, come and do this for me, and I'll tell even my great friends about it. That is what happens when you master something. So mastery is extremely important. And a lot of people, in the pursuit of money, this is the love of money, in the pursuit of money, without pursuing a problem in society and mastering a proficiency, in just the blind pursuit of money, try to do too many things because they're just gobbling and looking after money to feed their flesh and their emotions. But if you master something quietly, if you invest the time and the talent into it, it will metastasize into treasure. Okay? The ability to generate treasure comes from mastering something, utilizing your time and your gifts, and applying it to the needs of society. So your make money skill determined by that. Yes, Steph.
Yes, Mimba. So now I feel for the jack of all trades because, we're talking about mastering an art. Obviously, somewhere there's somebody saying, but look, I do well being a jack of all trades.
This is why I always tell people, be very careful. There's exceptions and there's rules. When you do enough wealth management, you start to notice that the people who have built exceptional levels of money or high income generation often do one thing very well. Often. There are plenty of people. Yes, there's some people. Let me say, there's some people who can do many things and build wealth with it, but the majority of people never become good enough and they exert themselves to the point where they're tired. What I've noticed with people who have mastered something, Stephanie, is they hardly need to advertise themselves. That's the one thing I've noticed. The people who are becoming jack of all trades always go through excessive sales. They always have to sell themselves because they have to convince people to use them. But the people who are very good at something, rarely do they have to advertise. They get recommended, they get known in society, and they get looked for. They search for you. That's the difference. You want money to come to you, become very good at something. If you want to chase money, then try and do too many things. That's the reality. And that chase will tire you. That chase will make you take shortcuts. So in as much as, yes, people say do have this and that and this and that, the problem is those who do not master end up getting exhausted by the paper chase. They go into something I call the paper chase. Okay, where they're chasing every kwacha they can find, doing anything. Today you'll build something, tomorrow you will sing this, you'll that. But unfortunately, you have to go through a sales process, and it's tiring. People making a sale. Making a sale is a very tiring thing. Okay, having to sit there and convince a person. But when a person comes to you, Stephanie, convinced, okay, it's not much of a sale you need to do. They're already ready to buy from you because they've heard about you from a friend. They've seen you somewhere. They're already ready to buy from you. And therefore, you don't have to do much sales. And that is why, and they're also ready to pay a premium for you. When you are not a master of something, people want a discount because you have the risk of not being good. But when you are a known master at something, they will pay the premium. So my 1 hour of time as a master will earn me much more than my 1 hour of time as a jack of all trades. That's the difference. So there's a high efficiency to mastering something. Now, the other part of the story, once you've mastered something, is then to become highly productive in it. And I want to talk about this from two specific angles. There is something we call the productivity formula, which I want to share with all of you today. This is something that I've been talking about since last year. How to be highly productive in an area, because you must bear fruit in an area. So the productivity formula is something that shows how people should be highly productive in an area. And I know this is a mouthful here, but it actually is a formula. Personal productivity equation is actually broken down by, I know quite a number of you may not like math right now, but here it is. D, which equals productivity, your daily progress made towards the attainment of a goal, equals V times capital T. And small v stands for velocity, the speed, efficiency, or most importantly, remember, Stephanie, I said be proficient at something. The proficiency with which you do something. And N and T is the amount of time. So how many sessions, time, T is the cumulative work amount of time that you do. The number of sessions that you focus on an act. T is the duration of each of those sessions. So in other words, how much time a day are you focused? Are you in an active state of focus? Not how much time are you on your desk sitting there daydreaming about the luxury vacation you want to take, yet you look like you're at work. How much are you actually deeply and intensely in work? Okay, so now the key identifier is this small v, the small one here, which stands for V, which is velocity, this one here. Now, it's broken into three things, D, L, and Y. And D, L, and Y stands for three things. One, D is direction. Which direction is your work taking you? And that is often taken by your vision and your values. What do you want to achieve? What problem do you want to solve? What is the thing that is inspiring you? You find that your direction gives you purpose, gives you energy and inspiration. Okay? So that is what direction does. When a sprinter, Stephanie, is going for a 100-meter race, they're looking at the finish line. Okay? When that finish line has got a gold medal, it's got accolades, it's got the respect of their nations. When someone like Muzala was running that 400 race, he was seeing the respect of his nation, the pride of his country, the inspiration of so many people. That's what that finish line meant to him. And it gave him the energy. Okay, all his work, all his focus, everything came at that finish line. And that was the direction with which he was running. So it gave him a place to focus his energies. So focused energy will give you that. The second thing is L, and this is a very important one. This one is called your stride or your skill, your talent. So this is your natural gifts, your talents, your training, where you've practiced. Now you improve your talents and turn them into skills when you do something called deliberate practice. And deliberate practice can also come by being mentored by somebody who is in that area, who you can then imitate at the beginning, become as good as them, and then surpass them. Same as Elisha did to Elijah, where he said, you will have a double portion. Okay, he had a double portion of Elisha because he served underneath, he learned everything, and when he did that, he then surpassed. Okay, he was able to surpass him by doing double, by doing miracles that even Jesus himself ended up doing. So what you do is when you follow after somebody, that can also give you that training. So you practice by imitating. List the people who are the best in your area. Okay, and then you line them up by the lowest out of that list of the best, the lowest and the highest. And you start with the lowest. How do I get to that person's level? Start imitating them, getting a bit better. Start imitating the next one, get a bit better. Keep doing that until you get to the best of the best. Okay, that is how you improve yourself. And then you must also be why, in a state of rhythm and flow. This is a state where you are hard to distract. You are deeply focused. You're like Michael Jordan on the court, Kobe Bryant. You're like even when King Kalu was in his days. That's what you're trying to be. Okay, you're in this deep state of focus when nobody can disrupt you, when you're practicing, when you're playing, nobody can break your concentration. When you are there, nothing else matters. That is a deep state of focus. People who are in flow state or in deep state of focus usually are doing something they find so strongly compelling and meaningful that nothing else matters. So your direction actually affects your state of focus. So if you snap this, people, take a picture of this or look at it very carefully, and I'll put it up for people, especially this evening, is look at the personal productivity equation. Utilize it. Because once you can do this, you are improving your ability to make money and apply it to a valuable problem. Applying your proficiency and your productivity to a valuable problem is how you build a stream of income, and a growing and powerful stream of income that can meet your needs and build wealth. So we'll talk about how to do that in the following weeks, but I just wanted to give people the personal productivity formula. Now, when utilizing this personal productivity formula, I want to give you one biblical example of how someone did it to build wealth. And this is the story of Elisha and the widow who got herself out of debt utilizing high productivity. And this comes from 2 Kings 4:1-7. And it's going to be paraphrased a little bit, but here it is. It says, when the widow came up to Elisha, who was going to be taken into slavery, her sons were going to be taken into slavery, Elisha said, borrow as many empty jars as you can from your friends and neighbors. Then go into the house with your sons. Shut the door behind you. Pour olive oil into your flask, into jars. Set each aside when it is filled. And then later on he came to her and she said, I've done it. Now he said, sell the olive oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on what's left over. This, Stephanie, is wealth building income. It is wealth building income because you are now able to meet a need and hit a financial target. Whether it's coming out of debt or building assets, that is the financial component. So this olive oil that they produced was able to meet that need of them being able to live off the rest, but also build wealth, or at least build themselves out of debt. Now, there are 6 things I've identified from this. Okay, 6 things I've identified from this. 1, identify your currently unused tradable resource. What do you have in your hand? Okay, what skills do you have? Not what skills do you admire from other people. What skills do you have? Too many people, Stephanie, try to build wealth or build careers by following the skills of other people that they admire. But what do you have? You can say that person speaks well, but if you don't speak well, is that your skill? It's not your talent. So what do you have? And that was the olive oil for the woman. Then the second thing to do is increase your capacity for your earnings. So what he told her to do was to collaborate with people, borrow these from people, get from people to try and help you build your capacity. So working with people allowed her. So you can go to a bank and borrow money, or you can get friends, Stephanie. You can say, well, Stephanie, you can use my garage if you want to start your business. You can do that. That increases your capacity. Or you can use my this. People can come together to assist you and work with you. The third thing it says is multiply your current resources by increasing your productivity. Pour olive oil into your flask. Sorry, from your flask into the jars. So once they did this, they started to increase their current capacity. Okay, so you do that. You can train yourself. You can keep pouring your skill. Your olive oil is your skill. Pour it into many flasks. Okay, if you're skilled in a certain area, try it with 1 customer, 2 customers, 3 customers. Every time you're doing this, you're increasing your capacity. Then trade your output. Okay, and then use the proceeds to settle your bills and to live on the rest. So what you want to do when you're looking at this, it requires 1, identification of what resource you have. 2, collaboration. And what I loved about this verse also is, Stephanie, when it said, lock the door behind you. Shut the door behind you was an important verse to me, because it said, go into a state of focus. Do not allow any other influences to creep in. When he said, shut the door behind you, how many of us go to work and shut the door behind us? How many of us still carry all these things? You go to work, you switch on social media, everything is happening around the world. Or how many times do you go to your work and focus? I was speaking to a gentleman who ran a bank. and he was talking to a gentleman from the bank of, I think one of the banks here, a Chinese-owned bank here in Zambia, and a Zambian managed bank. And the Chinese man looked at him and he said, "Why do you have so many employees here?" Because in the Zambian-owned bank, said, "Why do you have so many employees?" Like, "What do you mean? I need them." Then he said, "Come to my bank and you'll see." And he found a few employees in a specific area. And he said, "But why do you have so few?" He said, "The difference between my employees and your employees is that when my employees come to work, they work. They're not here to socialize. They're not here to read things. They're not here to chat." So he walked in there and he found these guys weren't even talking to each other. They were on their computers. He says, "Do they have like superior systems?" He's like, "No, they use Excel for banking." And the reason they're good at their job is because they come there and they shut the door behind them. And he saw that the productivity and the profitability levels of that bank were higher than his because the people were shutting the door behind them. Okay? So get into a deep state of focus. When something is in front of you, give it your full attention. Then lay it to rest when it's done and give what is in front of you your full attention. Do not be focused on all sorts of things because you've scattered your mind. Oh, there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that. Give yourself a deep state of focus. That is what is the difference between some and many. So the make money skill, just in summary, it requires that one, you do it in a blessed fashion. So one, make your money in a blessed fashion. Do not make your money in a cursed fashion to just feed your flesh. And I'm going to go through that next. I'm going to go through that in the final session where we're going to talk about the evils of money. The money being the root of all evil. There are 3 verses I want to go through in that one. So you want to really stick around for that one in 4 weeks' time, where we'll talk about money and its the evils of money, or what is perceived as it. 2, you want to operate in a blessed fashion. Number 1, in a way that is meeting the needs of society, in a way that you are producing the fruits of the gifts that God gave you. God planted a gift in you. You are producing fruits with it, multiplying those fruits, expanding them around the world or around your community, and you are dominating your industry with it. You want to master and specialize. So identify that gift that God gave you and identify the problem it solves. Number 2, master it. Specialize that area and master it. And number 3, get highly productive and get deeply focused. If you want to produce wealth, the first step is to make money. And if you want to optimize your ability to make money, invest in your knowledge, invest in your relationships so that you can identify your gifts and talent and you can sharpen them and turn them into skills. You can too, and then aim them at a problem. You can too specialize in that area so that you are known for it, so that you don't have to sell yourself too much. Your name will go before you. That's the things that you want. And you are 3, in a deep state of focus. You are highly passionate, highly productive, and you are problem-solving oriented. That is the 3 steps that we can get to for a person to be able to bear strong fruit and be able to generate wealth. In the next session, Stephanie, we're going to talk about managing money. You've made your money. Now let's go through the principles of what it takes to manage your money. And especially in good stewardship, because God has blessed you with that talent that made money. Now you must manage it according to what he's telling you as well. And that's where we'll leave it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this has been God's Economy, and that's Munyumba. Of course, we've been definitely looking at money, the 4 money skills. Of course, all you need to know about making money. Do make a date with us again next week at 8:30 to 9:30, and we'll be right here with you. For now, it's bye, Munyumba, and of course, until next week. See ya.
Until next week, God bless.